Giant claw!
Go to the movie! Go!
The film starts with a narration of how space is awesome. In the North Pole, scientists are conducting radar experiments to detect gaps in their sensors. One of the test pilots is an electrician engineer, Mitch McAfee.
Wait, is that Jeff Morrow? Didn't we review a movie that he was in last month?
No.
Mitch spots a UFO, but nothing is detected on the radar. Mitch gets closer and spots something as big as a battleship. Other pilots are sent out to investigate whatever Mitch might have seen.
When Mitch gets back to base, he's chewed out by the Major because the radars didn't pick up anything in the sky except him. Apparently one of the planes sent to search for the UFO is missing now. The Major gets a call about a missing transport plane that reported a UFO before cutting out, and again nothing was picked up on the radar.
Mitch and a mathematician, Sally Caldwell, are flown to New York, but their plane encounters a storm on the way and the pilot maneuvers to avoid the storm. Sally discovers a blind spot in Mitch's flight earlier, and the pilot spots a UFO and tells Mitch about it. The plane shakes, knocking the pilot out and forcing Mitch to land the damaged plane in Antarctica. All three survivors escape the plane's explosion, but they're found soon after by Farmer Pierre.
At least somebody found them. I mean, these are mountains. I mean, people get lost in mountains all the time, right?
Probably.
Probably.
I don't know. You could get eaten by a polar bear or something.
I've never been lost in the mountains. But,
You've been lost.
I've been lost.
Just in your mind in general, you know.
Pierre takes them to his home and paramedics arrive to pick up the pilot, while an officer informs Mitch and Sally that someone will swing by to pick them up. Mitch receives a call from General Van Buskirk about the crash, learning that, once again, nothing was picked up on the radar.
Outside, the storm picks up and Pierre goes to check out on his animals when Mitch and Sally hear him scream. They bring Pierre back inside, and when he wakes up, he claims he has seen a creature from folklore called La Carania. Officers arrive to pick up Mitch and Sally and learn that Pierre saw something. The officers explain the legend of La Carania and that those who see it are soon to die. As they leave for their flight, we get a glimpse of a giant footprint.
On their flight to New York, Mitch steals a kiss from the sleeping Sally.
Those two better be already a couple because this is already not proper.
She wakes up and the two exchange banter, including baseball terminology, as flirting. Mitch then gets an idea and marks a map with the UFO sightings to make out a pattern.
Pattern is a pretty big leap in logic.
Sully points out that the flying battleship would have to be pretty fast to make that pattern. Basically, Sally is trying to explain why the plot of this movie is ridiculous. All this talk disrupts the passenger behind them, who tells them to shut up.
A plane heads to the crash site, is attacked by a flying battleship, which we finally get to see clearly.
That thing's a monster?
That looks like a rejected Muppet!
You can even see the strings!
Later, Mitch is awakened by an army officer to take him to meet Buskirk. In Buskirk's office, Mitch explains his theory with Buskirk, revealing more attacks that match the pattern. The general basically blames the destruction on Mitch and mentions that for as large as the object stands to be, no radar has picked it up. Mitch is disappointed he didn't get a good look of the UFO, but Sally thinks that the weather balloon might have gotten a photograph of the thing before Mitch saw it the first time.
Why didn't didn't you check those before when they were looking for the UFO the first time it popped up?
The photographs confirm the existence of the monster, hereafter referred to as the Giant Claw, and are classified as top secret, and Buzzkirk and the pair head to Washington, D.C. There's a brief argument with General Edward Considine about the fact that the Giant Claw hasn't ever been picked up on radar. Considine receives a call and gives the order to shoot the Giant Claw down after it's spotted.
Maybe they can kill it.
Probably not, though.
Attempts to shoot the creature down fail spectacularly, only to cause more casualties. Considine calls for the join's chiefs to discuss what to do with the Giant Claw. Mitch is disappointed that the generals seem to be running away, but he's angry that they have no clue what they're dealing with since conventional weapons are powerless against it.
Just cut the strings. They're right there.
After Considine receives a call from a scientist investigating the crash debris, he informs Mitch that atomic weapons are being prepared to deal with the big bird should it be spotted again. He brings Mitch and Sally along to help figure out where the Giant Claw came from.
Sesame Street?
No, this is a rejected Muppet.
Oh.
At his lab, Dr. Carl Neumann explains antimatter to the gang, and Considine speculates that the Giant Claw is made of antimatter.
Well, I can't say I've ever heard of that origin of a kaiju before.
I have. Ultraman Gaia. It's actually a monster called antimatter.
Ah.
Neumann explains that the bird isn't made of antimatter, but possibly surrounded by a screen of it, explaining why he can't be detected by radar or shot down. Still no clue where it came from, but they found some feathers from the creature. Studies reveal the creature comes from an antimatter galaxy far from Earth. Considine contacts the Secretary of Defense.
The Giant Claw is spotted by the public around the world, completely ruining all chances of the government keeping it a secret. Sally visits Mitch in his hotel room, learning that he's been up for the past couple days working on a way to possibly kill the Giant Claw, and he complains about not being able to do anything about the situation. Sally wonders why the Giant Claw even showed up in the first place, mentioning that the creature seems to be flying non-stop. She then remembers that the bird did land at Pierre's farm to build a nest, and Mitch calls Buzzkirk to get a helicopter to Pierre's farm.
Over the radio, Considine publicly announces that the giant bird's situation reveals that the attempts to keep the flights grounded has resulted in the Giant Claw attacking the land. Traffic has been forcibly brought to a standstill as martial law has been imposed. After the broadcast, the Giant Claw swarms over New York, and Mitch knows he has to get to Pierre's farm.
Mitch's helicopter is nearly attacked by the Giant Claw in the Adirondacks, but they manage to land safely. With Pierre's help, they search for the Giant Claw's nest. They find it just as the creature returns to it. Sally spots the eggs, and as they prepare to fire their rifles, Pierre runs off in terror. They manage to destroy the eggs with their rifles, which greatly upsets the Giant Claw. As he runs off, Pierre is killed by the bird. However, Mitch and Sally are safe and plan to contact Buzzkirk and tell him to search for more eggs just in case.
How do you like your eggs?
Scrambled.
As they drive to Washington, teenagers drive past Mitch, who tries to warn them about the danger.
Oh, this is not going to end well at all.
The Giant Claw swoops down and grabs the car before dropping it, killing some of the teenagers. Mitch and Sally take the survivors to the hospital.
Mitch explains to Considine a possible way to shoot the massive bird. Some gap in a photo is exciting because science mumbo-jumbo.
Okay, I'm not a scientist, but that's a load of bunk.
Basically, they need to create a special isotope to neutralize the antimatter shield that surrounds the Giant Claw. Norman helps Mitch and Sally attempt to create the isotope, but they constantly fail. Meanwhile, the Giant Claw keeps terrorizing the nation.
Mitch is caught in an explosion, but by some miracle survived, and has turned out the explosion was the result of him getting the isotope launcher to work. They get everything prepared to head out and to attack the bird. Mitch plans to get the giant claw to chase them in the sky, then use the apparatus machine on it. Unfortunately, the giant claw has been spotted nearby, forcing Mitch to make the final adjustments in the flight up.
The giant claw attacks New York, destroying buildings and causing panic in the surrounding region. Mitch finally finishes the adjustments and uses the device on the giant claw, destroying the creature's antimatter shield. This allows the military to shoot the bird down, killing the beast. And then the movie just ends.
That was the train wreck known as the Giant Claw.
Yeah, the film's star, Jeff Morrow, actually walked out during the premiere because of how much the audience was just laughing at this film.
I will admit that the acting was pretty good in this film.
Unfortunately, the actual appearance of the monster completely undermines any seriousness that the film tries to have.
The plot is pretty shaky too. That pattern.
However, this film is so ridiculously bad that it's actually pretty fun.
Well, for Kaiju Review, I am Tank.
And I'm Proud of it. See ya.
Goodbye!